The rain hammered against the steel roof of the auto workshop, mixing with the noise of clanking tools and the frustrated sighs of exhausted workers. It was the busiest week of the year, and the company was on the verge of sealing the biggest contract in its history. If the deal went through, the CEO would secure millions, hundreds of jobs would be saved, and the factory's reputation would skyrocket. But everything depended on one thing: a massive prototype engine that refused to start. The CEO, Adrian Cole, known for his strict principles and explosive temper, stormed through the workshop with a fury that silenced even the loudest machines. His expensive shoes splashed through puddles of oil and water as he approached the towering engine. "If you can't fix it all, you're fired," he bellowed, his voice echoing off the metallic walls. The entire room froze. He wasn't talking to the team of engineers. He wasn't yelling at the supervisors. He wasn't furious at the executives who approved the project. His anger was aimed at one man, the most unexpected one: the quiet, underpaid, unnoticed mechanic crouched beside the machine, covered in grease from head to toe. Elias Ward lifted his head slowly. His tired eyes met the CEO's furious gaze, but he didn't flinch. Elias had been working for this company for years, mostly sweeping floors, fixing old forklifts, repairing broken pipes, and doing the jobs no one else wanted. He wasn't part of the elite engineering team. He wasn't a certified technician like the ones the company proudly displayed in its brochures. He was just a mechanic. A poor one, by most people's standards. But he knew machines in a way that couldn't be taught in classrooms. Adrian continued shouting, "We have 30 hours before the investors arrive. 30 hours before I stand in front of them and demonstrate the engine that's supposed to redefine industrial power. And you," he jabbed a finger toward Elias, "are the one everyone claims can fix anything. Prove it, or you're done here." The engineers around them exchanged nervous glances. Some pitied Eli, others smirked, already imagining his termination. He was an easy target, quiet, humble, and seemingly insignificant. No one expected him to fix the problem. The prototype engine was a monster of modern engineering. 10 experts had already failed to diagnose the issue. The company had spent millions on it. And now a mechanic was expected to save the day. Elias wiped sweat from his forehead with the back of his hand, leaving a streak of grease across his face. "I'll do my best," he murmured. "Your best better be enough," the CEO snapped before turning on his heel and storming out. As soon as he left, whispers erupted. "He's finished," one engineer muttered. "He'll never figure it out," another whispered. "Hope he saved enough for rent," someone chuckled quietly. Eli ignored all of them. He walked around the massive engine, touching its steel casing gently, almost like greeting an old friend. Machines had never judged him. Never mocked him. Never looked down on him for wearing cheap boots or living in a broken apartment. Machines listened. Machines spoke, if one knew how to hear them. He lowered himself beside the engine, listening to subtle clicks, faint vibrations, tiny inconsistencies. He noticed details the others had missed. Scratches on a connector plate, slight discoloration in one of the heat valves, a misaligned gear no larger than a coin. Hours passed. Workers went home. The lights dimmed to night mode. But Elias stayed, fueled by determination and a silent desperation he never showed. By midnight, the workshop was empty except for him. He climbed inside narrow compartments, tightened what others assumed was already perfect, rewired systems piece by piece, and aligned every component with delicate care. He remembered his father's words from childhood: "A machine is like a heart. If one artery is blocked, the entire body collapses." His father had been a mechanic too, poor, overworked, yet brilliant. He had died fixing a collapsing factory machine when Eli was a teenager. Since then, Eli vowed that he would never turn his back on a machine in distress. And he would never let a company treat him like nothing. The clock ticked. Rain faded. Dawn arrived. At 6 in the morning, Adrian returned with a cup of coffee, dark circles under his eyes. He had barely slept, tormented by the possibility of losing everything. As he entered the workshop, he expected to find the mechanic asleep on the floor or packing his things. But instead, he found Elias tightening the final bolt with trembling hands. "You're still here?" Adrian asked, incredulous. Eli nodded weakly. I fixed it." "You think?" the CEO snapped. Elias stepped back, Try it. The engineers began filing in, yawning, curious. Their eyes widened when they saw Eli standing beside the engine like a soldier ready for a final test. Adrian placed his hand on the ignition panel. Everyone held their breath. With a loud metallic shudder, the engine roared to life. It wasn't a weak start. It wasn't a glitchy, unstable growl. It was powerful, smooth, clean. The engine vibrated through the workshop like a heartbeat returning to life. The engineers gasped. Someone dropped their clipboard. Adrian stared, stunned. How? Elias explained patiently. The design was brilliant, but the assembly had flaws. The cooling valve was misaligned by 2 millimeters. That caused the temperature spike. The pressure gauge was reading wrong because a micro sensor was installed upside down. The wiring in the ignition relay wasn't matching the voltage pattern the prototype needed, so I rewired it. Also, the lubricant channel wasn't sealed, so I rebuilt that section completely. The CEO blinked at him. You discovered all of that alone. Eli nodded modestly. Machines talk. You just need to listen. The room fell silent. And then, unexpectedly, Adrian laughed. Not the mocking laugh of a superior, but a genuine, disbelieving laugh of a man who just witnessed a miracle. You did it, he said softly. You actually did it. For a moment, Eli felt relief. But then he remembered the CEO's words from yesterday. Fix it all or you're fired. He swallowed. So, am I still fired? Adrian looked at him for a long moment. Something softened in his eyes. Fired, he repeated. You're the only reason this company isn't collapsing today. The engineers exchanged confused glances. Adrian stepped closer. You're not fired, Elias. You're getting a promotion. Eli blinked. What? A promotion? Adrian repeated. Effective immediately. Head of Mechanical Diagnostics. Triple your current salary. A new apartment. Company funded. And you'll be leading a team, not sweeping floors. The entire workshop erupted in murmurs. Elias felt dizzy. Why me? Because, the CEO said slowly, in a room full of experts, you were the only one who didn't give up. You were the only one who saw the machine for what it truly was. You saved this company more than anyone ever has. The news spread through the building like wildfire. Workers came to congratulate Eli. Some apologized for underestimating him. Others looked at him with newfound respect. For the first time in years, Elias stood tall. Not as a nobody, not as a poor mechanic, but as someone who changed everything. At noon, investors began arriving. The presentation was flawless. The engine performed with astounding precision. Adrian spoke with confidence, but he made sure to gesture toward Eli standing at the front of the room. This man, he announced proudly, is the reason this machine works. He is the future of our innovation. Elias felt tears sting his eyes, but he held them back. After the investors left, impressed, excited, and ready to sign the biggest contract in company history, Adrian approached Eli. I owe you more than a promotion, he said. I owe you an apology. You don't have to, Elias said softly. I do, Adrian insisted. I treated you like you were disposable. I was wrong. You've shown me that talent doesn't always dress in a suit or come with degrees. Sometimes, real genius wears grease-stained shirts. Elias smiled faintly. I'm just a mechanic. No, the CEO corrected, you're the man who saved us all. From that day forward, everything changed. Elias moved into a comfortable apartment, his first home with proper heating, clean walls, and soft lighting. He bought new clothes, better tools, and sent money to support his mother. But he remained humble. He still visited the workshop every morning. Still greeted the old machines like old friends. Still fixed things no one else noticed. Months later, the company became one of the industry leaders. The prototype engine revolutionized their sector. And Eli's name was spoken with admiration everywhere in the building. But the CEO never forgot the moment he had shouted, if you can't fix it all, you're fired. He often replayed it in his mind, ashamed. Yet he also knew that sometimes, pressure reveals diamonds. And in Elias Ward, he found one. Eli, now respected and valued, often walked into the workshop, looking at the same engine he had once repaired through the night. He touched the steel with gratitude. Not because of the promotion. Not because of the money. But because that machine had given him something he had never felt before, pride. Purpose. and a chance to rewrite his future. And he did.